Michael. Another week, another press conference, but we've obviously got a match which a lot of people will think is fairly easy tomorrow, but you may differ.
Yeah, no, I think certainly we can't enter into the game. I spoke to the players this morning in our usual pre-match meeting about the opposition, but I think Ipswich have shown enough endeavour and desire and quality in some spells of the games. They had a very good opening spell against Nottingham Forest in the last game, and although their results have not been as forthcoming, I'm sure, as they would like, you know, they're going to come out and they're going to play with plenty of energy and desire early in the game. So no, listen, we've had enough warning signs earlier in the season against teams that people perhaps think it's a game that we should comfortably win, and we certainly don't look at any game like that. It's a championship. We have to be at our very best. There'll be certain things we'll have to do really well to cause Ipswich a problem, and like any game, if we don't do certain things well, then of course we'll be on the back foot ourselves. So yeah, it's a home game for us. I think every home game we should be going out there confident that we've got enough ability to win the game. But what we've got to show is we've got to show the endeavour to match that, to make sure we do.
You've talked about we should be having the confidence to win all our home games. The fact is we haven't, and we're now getting to the stage where we really need to put that run together. We've got this match, then we've got a difficult match at the Villa. So it's getting to a vital time now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, early season with 40 odd games left, you know, there's always time to make up any sort of slow start to the season. But of course, with our slow start that we had, it leaves you with very little room for error, you know, if you want to achieve something. And we've spoke about it. Our results, our performances have been far better over the last big period of games. I think our last two home performances in spells were a lot more positive than some of the ones previously, but ultimately we should be sat here now saying we had 9 points from our last 3 games, and we're not. So you know, we've got to start turning those good performances into winning performances, and it's as simple as that. So you know, that's got to start this next game. It's got to start the game after. It should have started the previous 2 or 3. So we're all a bit disappointed with that, but we're certainly positive in light of, you know, our consistency and the way we've gone about things. But we haven't got as many wins as we'd like at this moment.
Ryan Shawcross said after the match last week he was fed up with saying we're a good team, but you can see signs of what you wanted to happen and the improvements with each successive game.
Yeah, I think if we'd started okay and been very, very inconsistent all the way along, like we were in those early sort of games, and I think there'd be I'd be a very, very concerned manager sat up here now. You know, as it is, I'm a manager that can see, in my opinion, the players improving their mentality. I can sat here seeing the players improving their performance. I think they're getting to grips with what we're asking them to do and getting better at it all the time. I think virtually every game, if we haven't won it, we've had opportunities from a position to win the game. Whether we have done for various reasons is there to be seen. So I think there's a lot of positives. I think the only positive that we can't really speak about is the fact that we haven't won every game. You know, so and we're aware of that. We're working incredibly hard to do that. And of course, the game Saturday is a game that we must go out there and win, like any other game. You know, not because it's against Ipswich, not because it's Paul Lambert, not because it's anything. It's just the next game in a list of games that we want to win. And ironically, if we can go and get the points, then the recent run of games turns into a very good looking one. So it's in our hands, and we have to make sure that we compete against I'm sure, incredibly motivated Ipswich side.
And we've had another full week of training, which is rare in the Championship. Tom Ince is getting better with each game. How's he recovering?
Yeah, he's recovering fine. I think we've, you had a few players that you had to be mindful of in this last week. Certainly, I think Sam Klug has had a big week on the back of not much football, or hardly any football. Tom Ince, of course, coming back from a hernia operation. So you always have to be mindful. You know, sometimes they can get through that period of games, and it's that soreness afterwards that you just need to give. We've given them a little bit of extra recovery time this week in light of, I think, the 3-game week and the fact that we played with 10 men for the best part of Wednesday's game against Derby. So the likes of Ince, I think, will benefit from that. the likes of Sam Clucas will benefit from that. We've had a good week's training, and but Tom Ince is Tom Ince. You know, I think again the reason we fought so hard to sign him is because he has the quality that he's shown in recent weeks, and I think people are surprised of just how hard he's worked for the team as well. But you know, his level of consistency has been excellent. I think he's probably, if you had to pick a player now at this moment in time, I'd argue that he's probably been our best player so far this season on a most consistent basis.
And you've not mentioned Eric Peters. Are there any injury problems? Because Eric was limping at the end of last week.
Yeah, Eric came off, of course, which was disappointing at that point because it just upset our balance a little bit, which you could see. And again, he's not trained this week up until now. He's done a little bit of light training today, so we'll see how he recovers and whether we think he's available. James McLean came in this morning with a sort of an infected toe stroke foot, so again we'll monitor that one over the next 24 hours, and it might be that we can't take the risk with him if he's in a position of where we're unsure. So again we'll have to monitor that. I think more or less everyone else should be available.
And that's great because it gives you obviously much more competition for places.
Yep.
But one of the things everybody thinks that is going to achieve since you've been a manager is that the team spirit, the players seem to be much closer now and working together as a unit. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, again, I mean, I spoke about it when I first came to the club that I heard all the sort of stories that, of course, unfortunately, emanated out of the club last season in terms of a squad harmony or disharmony and disciplinary problems and whatnot. Certainly, we haven't. All I can do is judge it on what I've seen and what we've always worked hard to achieve. I think we've got a far better squad balance. I think we've got a far better squad mentality in terms of them all fighting for each other. And I think they're enjoying working together, which is what you want any squad to do, because it's like anybody going to work. If you don't enjoy it, you don't like the people you work with, then quite often you're slightly less motivated to do a good job. So, it's very, very simple what we try to do, but the players have enjoyed it, and what we're trying to, I think it's like anything, your team spirit is brilliant, but I think I spoke about it 3 or 4 weeks ago, that winning games enhances and builds that spirit. So at the moment, not losing games and performing pretty well has built it, but if we can get the wins we're all after, then it will only go from strength to strength.
And strangely enough, there's going to be a large crowd here tomorrow. I think there's 350 school children coming from different schools in the area. So it'd be really nice to give them 3 points and get them back behind the team. Yeah,
I think when there's any sort of initiative or whatever club are doing to try to get some young fans into the building or into the stadium, then of course you want them to come back and you want them to be the fans of the future. So I think it's important that they see something that they like and infuses them and their parents to want to either go and buy a season ticket for the rest of the season or certainly consider coming back more often. But it's like that for all the fans. I think again in the last 2 games, I think parts of the performances, I think certainly big parts of the Derby game showed the crowd that we're trying everything we can to get these wins and to give them a team with commitment and courage at times. And of course we've got another opportunity to do it again. It's important we start well. It's important we start, mind you, I've said that a few times and we haven't started well. In fact, the last game I said to the players, if you can start as badly as possible, that'd be great, in the hope that reverse psychology would work. So but yeah, it's important we start on the front foot. It's important we take the game to Ipswich with the right balance and at the right moments. And we saw against Derby just how the crowd will respond.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Ipswich, of course, managed by Paul Lambert, your predecessor. Have you spoken to him? Did you give him a call after you got this job at Stoke?
No, I've not spoke to Paul. I've obviously come across him before. I've always had decent conversations with him after the games. But no, I've not spoke to him since taking the job or since he left at all.
The only other question I was going to ask you was about the academy game, the game against Vale on Tuesday. Were you at that game? And
Yeah, we went to the game.
What do you make of the Stoke players, their performance that night?
I think it was. It was a tough atmosphere. I think we can see that, and we certainly, firstly, don't condone any of the actions by by some of the fans, you know, in terms of what they did. I think that's something we certainly don't condone as a club, and I don't think anyone who saw football in the 70s and 80s at times doesn't want that sort of thing to come back. So that's the first thing. I think the game was always going to be a challenge. I think it was always going to be a challenge for many reasons. I went to watch the under-23s play Norwich at Stoke Town a little bit earlier in the season, and whilst there was quite a few fans there wasn't many, and it's a completely different game. And they performed really, really well under no real pressure. Now you go to play Port Vale, the game's a lot bigger. The good thing for us is you're going to learn something a little bit different about some of the players, because that's what a first team sort of environment or first team atmosphere is about. And I would say as a collective, whilst one or two came out with credit, as a collective it was a difficult game for them, and they're quite, some of those players kind of froze a little bit on that big stage. So, but I don't think what we can't do is we can't use that game as a marker of how they've done this season. I think they've performed really well. They've had to win a lot of games to get to that point, or perform well in a lot of games, i.e. at Sunderland, against a lot of their first team. And it'll be something that either spurs some of those younger players on to realise they've got to do a little bit more, or they'll stay disappointed. So it'll be a good test for them. They've had a good season so far. It was a poor game for them in terms of what they're capable of, but it's how you learn from it, isn't it? It's what you learn from it.
Yeah, it was a good test for them, and they need more of that experience against first team clubs and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
How are they going to get that unless they actually go out on loan or get to play more of these types of games?
Well, they're not. That's the fact. I mean, that's what that tournament is about, is to try and pit some of the younger academy players against first teamers. My opinion is still that I believe the emergency loans not being available, at least to under 23 players maybe in the league, actually hinders young players' development, because at this point now we could say, you know what, let's let so and so go and have a month of football with a League Two club, whereas you've got to make the decision in the window for the whole window, and it's quite a big commitment as a club when you can't also bring in younger players. So what tends to happen is all those players tend to stay around. Of course, in January we'll look at which players need to go out and play games for their own development and for our development pathway for them. But the reality is, the way the game's structured at the moment, they're either out on loan or they're stuck in your 23s in less competitive games, and there isn't really a good balance there for me at the moment.